A very good evening to everyone on the webinar. Today we will be learning on advanced derivatives. So we will be learning about advanced derivatives. So the structure of the webinar is that we will be devoting the major portion of the time on the webinar on advanced derivatives, but we will spend initially few minutes on the basics of derivatives, futures, and options. That will be only a small part, just to refresh some of the attendees. And then we'll talk about option Greeks. We'll talk about option strategies. Then trading methods and tool. We'll also talk about money management. So what you need to understand is that derivatives, that is futures, basically derivatives are futures and options. They are the highest stakes money game in the world, where fortunes are made and lost daily. And the best part is in derivatives, that is in futures and options, you can trade both the long and the short. That is, if you're bullish on the market, you can go long. If you're bearish on the market, you can go short. And luck might play a part in the short term, but in the long term, it is your strategy. And ultimately, acting in a disciplined manner holds the key to success. So, somewhere or the other, discipline comes in, whether one is trading or whether one is investing. And also, we need to remember that trading is a human game, a game of emotions. So, what we find at times that the markets act in extraordinary manner, and these can be the best times to play. So, if you have a strategy in place, then you don't need to really think much as to what is happening in the market. You can go ahead and go as per your strategy. And to profit in futures and options, you will need a systematic approach, a well thought out strategy. So what I will do is I will present some good ideas, but it's up to you to implement them systematically, because ultimately it all boils down to a consistent approach to trading. And the last point here I would like to add is that the nature of the markets is to punish the uninformed and the ill prepared. Those who are uninformed, those who don't spend the time gaining the knowledge and are ill prepared, they get punished. So let's begin our journey to join the minority, because it's generally they who reap the rewards, because they spend the time in understanding the markets better, and also understanding themselves better. So on the derivatives front, primarily we have exchange traded instruments. We have the futures and the options. Futures are again exchange traded. They have a standardized contract. You have a lot size and minimum price fluctuation. There is an expiry date. So all these derivatives have an expiry date. Then, since these are traded on the exchange, so legally binding on both parties, and since the exchange is there, so no counterparty risk. So that's one of the reasons why post 2008 subprime crisis, a lot of I would say movement or market action has moved to the from the OTC to the exchange traded derivative instruments, because that's better regulated. So futures basically, when trading futures, because you are trading for future delivery, it is just as easy to sell first and then to buy back later. So in futures, as I said, in delivery you can be long or short depending upon whether you have a bullish view of the market or a bearish view of the market. So likewise, if you are selling, that is going short, that is you are selling first and then covering it back later. So that is more or less, that is you are having a bearish view on the market or that particular stock. So which months ideally should you trade? So you should trade the most active month, until unless you have a specific reason to trade some other month. So you can see which month has the highest open interest. Generally, it's the near month contracts. And most important, you need to understand your risk profile before getting into futures and options segment. You need to understand the risks and the opportunities which are there. Just to give you a brief on the futures contract, this is a Nifty futures contract. We are looking at 30th March, so this is the expiry date, 30th March 2017. Underlying is the Nifty spot. You need to understand that each and every futures contract or options contract, they have their lot size, that is called the market lot. So Nifty, that is 75. So here in futures we have the near month, middle month, and the far month. And then you need to deposit something called as the margin money, and then we have the tick size. I'm just briefly refreshing this, and then I'll move to the more advanced topics. On the option side, we have again two types of options. You have a call option and a put option. Uh, when you're bullish on the market, you will buy a call option. When you're bearish on the market, you will buy a put option. So the major difference between futures and options is that futures are an obligation, but in options they are not an obligation. They give the buyer the right, that is to buy or sell a specified underlying at a set price on or before a specified date. So it's if again we look at a Nifty 50. This is a Nifty index option. We have a 8,900 call option, 30th March expiry. So you can see that this is the way it fluctuates. You have the market lot. You need to understand these things. So that is quite helpful. Now, why trade options? Now we'll come to the detailed parts. Why trade options? The options, basically you can hedge your existing position. So if you have your positions in the cash segment or in the futures segment, you can hedge your positions with options. We'll look at examples. Then attractive returns, because option trading involves a very small capital outlay, so one can make a large amount of money, but at the same time one can lose significantly also if one really doesn't know how to manage one's risk. Then there is something called limited risk, as an option has an inherent hedge in its losses, as it is limited to the premium paid as compared to the unlimited loss in a futures position. So in futures, the loss is unlimited, means if you don't have a stop loss or the market down gaps, you can lose significantly more than what you had risked. But in options, the maximum that you can risk you can lose is when you're buying options is the premium that you pay. But if you're writing off options, then again your risk is unlimited. Then we have lower risk and high volatility. So volatility in option markets is quite high at times, making possible handsome returns. And you can trade options in and option strategies in all markets, be it trending markets or range bound markets. So now we look at the types of options. We have something called the in the money, at the money, and out of money option. So we look at the call option. In call option, when the market price of the underlying asset is more than the strike price, the call is we have it in the money, and the market price of the underlying asset is the same as the strike price. We have at the money, and then we have out of money. This is for the call option. So for a out of money call option, the market price of the underlying asset is less than the strike price. So we will look at examples also going forward. Likewise, in put option, it is the reverse of a call option. In the money, that is the IPM option, the market price of the underlying asset is less than the strike price, and out of money, the market price of the underlying asset is more than the strike price. We'll just look at this. This is something which I want to share with all of you. This is very clear. This is you can always look at it on the NSE website, nsindia.com. You have the option chain. You can look at for stocks also and for indices also. So here we have the in the money, at the money, out of money options for Nifty. So in this case, if you see here, the Nifty is at you can see below, it's at 8946. So so all these options which are there, you have above below 8,900, they are all in the money, and you can see that the premium for the 8,900 is we'll just take the LTP last traded price, so that is 160, and then you have 8850, that is at 192. And if you look at the 8,300 strike price option, there the premium is 675. This is for the call option. We are looking on the left hand side right now. So what it means is that they are deep in the money options. And here we have again when we look at the 8950, 9000, 9050, and till we are seeing here till 9550, these are all out of money, and the further you go away, the deeper out of money options they are. So you can see that a 9550 call option for a March expiry you can buy it at 4 points. So somewhere so you multiply it by 4 into the lot size, that is 4 into 75, so effectively 300 rupees. So somewhere or the other you need to understand is that which are the options, and you can see that the volume is also there for these options. You have the volume and the open interest and the change in open interest. So you can see that you have both for the calls and the puts. For the puts, this is the NSE. You can get all this data from the NSE website also, and for all the stocks, and it is very useful. So before getting into which option to buy, you can get all this information. Now we come and look at what is intrinsic value and what is time value. So first I'll just explain, and then I will give with an example, so it will be even better for all of you. So intrinsic value is basically the difference between the strike price and the current market price. And intrinsic value is always found in the ITM, that is in the money options. Out of money options have zero intrinsic value. And time value is equal to option value minus the intrinsic value. And third is that time value premium decreases at an accelerated rate as the option approaches maturity. So this is the basic catch of buying options, is that you have something called the time decay. So if you're a buyer of option, you are fighting against time. So the sooner the market moves in your favor or the stock moves in your favor, you are better off. So now we'll just take a couple of example here, so it will be even better. So here we have the date is 1st of November. The contracts are November contracts 2015, and this is just an example to explain better. And the futures is at 8,400. So if you look at the 8,300, just below that 8,400, if you look at the 8,300 call option, CE is for the call option, C is for call, E is for European. So CE, that's why it's called CE, and P is for your put, and E is for your European. Now if you look at the 8,300 call option, the premium is 185. So if you look at the intrinsic value, so what we've seen is that the intrinsic value is the difference between the strike price and the current market price. So what is the strike price? The strike price in this case is 8,300. And what is the current market price? That is 8,400 for the futures. So 8,400 minus 8,300 is equal to 100. So that is your intrinsic value. But we find that apart from the intrinsic value, the option premium is 185. So the balance is time value. So time value is equal to option value, that is 185 minus 100. So the time value is 85. And you see that the time value which is there for the 8,500, 8,300 call option, that is at 85, and then it goes up to 120, and then it starts decreasing 80, 50 and 20, likewise for the different strike prices. Same if you look at the put option. So in put option, what happens is that if we are looking at the 8,400 futures, so we look at the 8,400 put option. So here the premium is 120. So in this case, the intrinsic value is 0 and the time value is 120. So for an 8,500 put option, if the premium is 180, the intrinsic value becomes 8,500 minus 8,400. So that's 100. So intrinsic time value becomes 180 minus 100, that is equal to 80. So likewise, you can see that it is comparatively a very simple concept, that intrinsic value is the difference between the strike price and the current price. Time value is equal to option value minus intrinsic value. Then we look at the overall put call. If we what happens is that time value decreases as the option gets deeper in the money. So the deeper the option is in the money, the intrinsic value increases and the time value decreases. But buying too much deep in the money option is also not a good strategy, because in that case you will be paying a very significant premium. At the money, in at the money option, be it a call or a put, time value is at the maximum when the option is at the money, intrinsic value is 0. So generally you should buy slightly out of money or slightly in the money options. And looking at out of money, time value decreases as option gets cheaper out of money. So intrinsic value becomes 0. Now we look at some of the option Greeks as to what they are, and then we will look at specific examples and strategies. So the first and foremost which is talked about is delta. This I would say that is something you should definitely look at and watch this. As to what is the delta of that particular option which you're buying. Generally, you need to remember is that the further out of money option if you buy, the lower the delta it will be, and the deeper the in the money option that you buy, the higher the delta it will be. So delta basically it refers to the percentage move the option registers in comparison to its underlying. So if the underlying is moving by 1 point and the delta is 0.5, so that means the option will move by 0.5, and its value ranges from 0, that is for very deep out of money options, to 1, that is very deep in the money options, which behave more like the underlying itself. At the money options have a delta value of 50% or 0.5. Calls have positive delta, whereas puts have negative delta. Next, we have something called gamma. So gamma, it is the extent to which delta itself is changing in relation to the underlying price move. So once a change in volatility, and gamma basically does not differentiate between calls and puts. It only focuses on the strike price. So anytime you buy an option, any option, whether it is a call or a put, you acquire long gamma. Anytime you sell an option, call or put, you gain short gamma. Then we, apart from delta and gamma, we have something called the vega. Vega, it is a measurement. It is the measurement of an option's sensitivity to changes in volatility of the underlying asset. So vega represents amount that an options contract's price changes in reaction to a 1% change in implied volatility of the underlying asset. So vega is a measure of the change in option contract's price in reaction to a 1% change in the implied volatility, that is IV, of the underlying asset. And the next is theta. Theta measures an option's rate of decay over time. When we study theta, we must have a clear understanding of time and value. So you need to understand that delta is something which you definitely should pay attention to, and theta also you should definitely pay attention to, because these would be the most important ones for you to watch out for. Apart from that, you should also look at gamma and vega. So now we shall look at certain strategies as to on the option side how you can take advantage of these strategies. I'll also explain with examples so that it is even better for all of you. So the first is buying options to protect futures, which is called synthetics. So buying options to protect futures generally involves that you have a long future, that is you are bullish on the market, so you are long in a futures contract, but at the same time you are buying a put, or the other is you are buying a call with short futures, that is you are bearish on the market, so you are short futures, but you somewhere want to hedge your position, so you are buying a call option, because buying a call is bullish, whereas shorting futures is bearish. So it is very helpful during volatile times and can help protect your downside. So say for example you're bullish on the market, but some event is going to happen, or there is some major announcement which could be in that particular stock, or it could be market based announcement which could impact the overall market. So in that case you could get into this trade, that is a synthetic. So if you are long futures, you could buy a put In this way, it will help you during volatile times and will also help you protect your downside. So when you are holding position in futures and the market has rallied or corrected sharply in your favor, you can use puts and calls to further tighten your exit points. So you can also use them to tighten your exit points. So this chart which you can see is of Kane India. So Kane India had a double top at 262 levels. So if we look at it, so one can hedge by buying the 260 January put at 3 rupees 60 paisa. This is just an example. At a point of time, these were the rates which are prevalent. So if you had your position and you still want to hold your position in the futures, you could buy a put option here. So here the premium was 3 rupees 60 paise and the LS is the lot size. So you need to understand what is the lot size of that particular stock futures. So in this case it is 3,500. So effectively you are looking at 3,500 into 3.6. Next, we have some other strategies are also there in options. We have something called the covered option writing. So in this case, what we saw in the earlier example, that we were buying options. So as I said, buying options is comparatively an easy way of trading in the market, but at the same time, since the theta, that is the time decay, works against you, so if you don't make money in a short span of time, the theta can eat away a premium. So in this case, what you do is, so rather than buying options, you are selling options. So what happens in this case is, this is called covered option writing. So suppose you are bullish on the market, so you are long futures, that is you bought futures. So what likely you can do, either you can buy a put option or you can sell a call option, because we know that buying a call option is bullish. So naturally, if you're selling a call option, that becomes bearish, or vice versa. If you are short in futures, that is you're bearish on the market and you're short in futures, but at the same time you want to hedge your position or because of market volatility. So in that case, you can either buy a call option or you can sell a put option, because buying a put option, we know that it is bearish. So selling a put option is bullish. So this strategy can allow you to take advantage of the high options premium, but it is also risky in a volatile market. So the disadvantage of this strategy is that most you can make is the premium you have received, but still it is a good strategy. So you need to understand that if you are writing options, if you are on the sell side of options, somewhere you have to manage your risk, because if the market opens up gap or down gap against your existing position, so how do you manage that risk? That's a challenge which most of the option writers do face, but they manage it with the help of strategies. Next, we have a vertical call spread, which is again a bullish. We have a bullish spread, and then we have a vertical put spread, which is a bearish. So a vertical call spread is where you have two call options of the same month, but with different strike prices that are spread against each other. So the vertical call spread here is bullish, and the vertical put spread is bearish. So this is a mirror image of the call spread. So now we look at an example of this. So here we have a bull call spread. So if we look at this example, in this we see that on 1st of November 2015, futures was at 8,400. So in this case, the strike price that we are looking for the call option is 8,400 call option and the 8,500 put option. So what we are doing is we are buying the lower strike price, that is by the at the money call, and we are selling the out of money call. So this is a strategy if you are having a bullish view on the market, but you simply don't just want to buy a call option. In that case, you can enter into a bull call spread. So what you do is, that the futures is at 8,400, and the call option strike price is at, you buy it for 8,400 call option at 120 premium, and you simultaneously sell a 8,500 call option at 80. So in this case, what you are doing is, you have a bull call spread. Now what happens is that on the 2nd of November, uh, the futures, Nifty futures from 8,400 has moved to 8,500. So since it has moved in your favor, so what it means is that the 8,400 call option which you have bought, you had bought it at 120, but now since Nifty futures has moved up from 8,400 to 8,500. So what we see here is that the value of the option, call option, of the 8,400 call option has increased from 120 to 180. So on the 8,400 call option, you are making a profit of 60 points, whereas your 8,500 call option which you have sold at 80 is now also trading, because it is a call option and the market has moved in your favor, so the premium also increases. So from 80 it has gone up to 115. So the loss on the 8,500 call option is 80 minus 115, that is equal to minus 35. So you are losing 35 points there. So your net profit is 60 minus 35, that is 25 points. So you multiply it by a factor of 75, because Nifty lot size is 75. So generally what happens here is that you can overall look at a bull call spread as an opportunity or as a strategy which will limit your downside, or the risk to the downside is limited. And while at the same time, had you just bought a 8,400 call option, so at 120, and next day from Nifty futures from 8,400 moves to 8,500, so your call option value would also move from 120 to 180. So you would have made 60 points, but in this case you are making only 25 points. So what it effectively means is that those who want to trade strategies, but at the same time don't want to just buy a call option or a put option, this can be a good strategy for them. And in this case, if we take the other example, that when at expiry, we have the futures is at 8,500. So in this case, we see that the 8,400 call option is there is a loss of 20 points, because that was bought at 120, now the value is 100, whereas the profit on the 8,500 call option is 80. So net profit is also is 60. So what we see in the bull call spread is that the maximum profit that you get is the you look at the strike price, that is the upper strike price minus the lower strike price minus the net premium that you pay, that is the maximum profit. So the maximum profit is in the case the market remains above B at expiry. B is the upper strike price. So if the market remains above the upper strike price, then you have the maximum profit, and the maximum loss that you have is the net premium paid. So the maximum loss is in case market remains below A, that is the lower strike price in this case, 8,400 is the strike price, so it remains below expiry. So this is one strategy you can look at. And uh, and the vertical put spread, we were talking about the vertical call spread till now, so which is bullish. The vertical put spread is bearish. So in this case, what you are doing is you are dealing in puts. So you buy a example, buy a Nifty January 8,500 put, and you sell a Nifty January 8,400 put. So it is a reverse or a mirror image of the call spread. And as far as the bull spread is concerned, suppose the view in this case, the earlier example we looked at, that from 8,400 it goes to 8,500, the view was right and we made money. But what if the view is wrong and Nifty futures from 8,400 it corrects and comes down to 8,300? So in this first case, what has happened is we have bought this 8,400 call option at 120, but on the 2nd of November, because the market Nifty has corrected by 100 points, so the value of the option of the 8,400 call option has corrected or has declined from 120 to 80. So net loss on the 8,400 call option is 40. Whereas looking at the profit on the other trade, the 8,500 call you have sold at 80, and since the market has corrected, so the value of this call has also corrected. So the value is now 50. So in this case, you have sold it at 80 and you are buying it back at 50. So net you have a 30 point plus. So 30 point plus, but overall net with this particular spread, if the bull call spread which moves in against you, you are incurring a loss of only 10 points. So you need to understand is that had you simply bought the 8,400 call option and at 120, and Nifty corrected from that level from 8,400 to 8,300, so you would have lost 40 points. But in this case, you have lost only 10 points. So if you want to minimize your risk, but at the same time you have a view of the market, these are some strategies you can look at. The vertical call spread or the vertical put spread, and also as I talked about, that if you have positions in futures and if some major event is likely to happen, with that where it could be a stock specific event or it could be a major economic announcement or development, and you need to protect your position, you don't want to exit your position, then you can do either a synthetics or you can go in for covered option writing. So next we look at something called calendar spreads. So calendar spreads, they are also known as time spreads, and basically they take the advantage of the tendency of nearby options to decay faster than distant options. So in this case, what we see is that the option premium which I talked about, you will find that if the option is not going anywhere and it is just trading sideways, you will find that on a day-to-day basis the option premium value is declining, because theta, that is time decay, is impacting the option premium. So calendar spreads or time spreads, basically they give you or provide you with the advantage or to take of the tendency that nearby options decay faster than distant options. So this strategy involves the sale of one option in 1 month and the simultaneously purchase of an option, usually but not necessarily the same strike price, in a later month. So for example, you can one might sell a Nifty January 8,400 call at 65, and you buy a Nifty February 8,400 call at 172 for a net debit. So if the market remains stable, one gains the premium in the nearby to cheapen the ultimate cost of the distance. So what happens in this case is that you will find that the January strike price call option, that would because it is expiring in January, so its premium will decline faster as compared to the February option. So in this case, you can take an advantage of the of this by using calendar spreads or time spreads. Then there are some other strategies which are quite popular, straddles and strangles. So these are option spreads that involves both calls and puts. So the straddle basically involves buying and selling calls and puts at the same strike price. We'll take specific examples also. So during the life of a straddle, it is almost a certainty that one or both of the options will be in the money at any point of time. So in the straddle, what we find is that you buy a call option and a put option of the same strike price. But a strangle is different. In a strangle, it involves different strike prices. So it is less likely that both or even one of the strangle legs will be in the money at any point in time. So the straddle and the strangle sellers can do quite well in quite trading range market types, whereas buyers require a volatile, unexpected move. So just to give you an example, if there is a major announcement that is likely to happen, but you don't know which way it is going to impact that particular stock or which way that is going to impact the market. So you can go in for a straddle, you can go in for a strangle. But at the same time, you need to remember that when you are entering into strategies, once you should execute the leg at the same time. It is not that you square off the leg in which you are profitable and then you hold on to the leg which is in loss, because that's not the way a strategy works. So we look at straddles and strangles in greater detail. So here we have an example of a long straddle. So here again we look at that on 1st of November the futures is at 8,400. So we are buying an at the money call option and also we are buying an at the money put option. So in this case we have the premium, what we see is 120. So on 2nd of November the Nifty moves up from Nifty futures moves up from 8,400 to 8,500. So what I see is that the 8,400 call option which I bought at 120, the premium has gone up to 180. So the profit on the 8,400 call option is 60. Whereas the put option which I bought, the ATM, that is at the money put option which I bought of strike 8,400, I paid 120. But since the market has gone up, so it has gone against my position. So the 8,400 put option is now at 80. So the loss on the 8,400 put option is 40. So net I have a profit of 20, because on my call option I am making 60 points, on the put option I am losing 40 points. So net I am making 20 points. So the advantage here in a straddle is that the maximum profit can be unlimited if the market moves significantly in either direction, and the maximum loss is that the net premium paid, which will be when the market expires at a strike price. So generally, if you are entering into a straddle or a strangle, you should not hold it for a very long once the event happens, because you have taken a position for as per the event. So if you are making money, you should book and get out, even if you are not making money, and you should, because once the event happens, that is already factored in the price, both of the underlying as well as the option premium. So it is not a good idea to hold on to much longer after the event has happened. So in this second case we see below is that the futures from 8,400, it has gone up to 8,700. So the 8,400 call option which I had bought at 120 is now at 300. So whereas the put option which I bought at 120 is now worth 0. So net I see that the profit on the 8,400 call option is 180, whereas the loss on the 8,400 put option is 120. So the net profit is that I have is plus 60. So what you can see from this example is that your profits are limited, but at the same time your losses are also limited. So if you want to trade strategies, it's a good way to start, and you can also do some tracking. You get data on the NSE website of the Bhav copy, so you can look at major events when they have companies have announced their results or the government budget, how those days had you bought a at the money call option, put option, how it had worked. And you can also share your views and thoughts with us at webinars@angelbooking.com, and we shall definitely revert back to you. So the straddle is a good way, and short-term profits can be made if the market moves fast in either direction. Because generally, what happens is that just prior to the event, you will find that the IV, that is the implied volatility, increases significantly. So there are two ways of looking at it. One is buying a straddle. So you buy a straddle. The other one, naturally, if you're buying something, someone has to be there on the selling side. Then only the transaction can take place. So the advantage of buying a straddle is that you know to the penny your maximum risk on the trade. So what is your maximum risk? You know. The disadvantage is that you must overcome double premiums to be profitable. So then the question is, why do we do this? The only situation in which this makes any sense is when you anticipate a volatile market but do not have an idea which direction the market will move. So you are expecting that there could be some major movement in that particular stock or in that particular Nifty because of, maybe it could be a budget day, it could be a US major announcement, some major economic announcement, or whatever, or a stock specific big news, anything. So but you know that some event is likely to happen, so you take a position. Whereas selling a straddle, so this strategy places the odds in your favor. So if you're a seller of a straddle, places the odds in your favor but raises the level of risk. So if the market trades within the range, one makes money, but any significant move in either direction could lead to significant losses. So if you're a buyer of straddle, you know what is your maximum risk. But if you're a seller of a straddle, then you will only make money if the market remains range bound. But if the market moves significantly in either direction, then there is a possibility of a significant loss. Next, we look at a strangle. What is a strangle, and buying a strangle versus selling a strangle. So the strangle is similar to the straddle, but there is one important difference. The strangle uses different strikes. What we saw earlier in the straddle was that the straddle uses the same strike price for the call option and the put option. So you buy a call option at the same strike price as well as the put option of the same strike price, and that is generally at the money. Whereas in a strangle, the strike prices are different. So again, as a buyer, because you are again buying a call option and a put option, so your risk is limited. Here one is basically taking a greater leverage position, but view remaining the same, but expecting heightened volatility. So you can, if you are if you have a slight view of the market, you can go into a strangle, and at the same time volatility has to be high for a buyer of strangle to make money. And selling a strangle, this strategy is profitable most of the time because at least they do not totally overcome the premiums paid. In this case, what happens is that you are writing two out of money calls, but this does not necessarily put odds doubly in your favor. So a strangle is used when the investor or the trader believes the stock has a better chance of moving in a certain direction, but would still like to be protected in case of a negative move. So you have a view, you can get into a strangle as well. Next, there are other strategies like butterfly spreads and the condor. So we'll briefly talk about them as well. Uh, First is a butterfly. So a butterfly is a strategy. It is a combination of both a bull spread and a bear spread. So in this case, it involves three strike prices. For example, you buy a January 8,200 call option. Then you sell 2 January 8,250 calls, and you buy 1 January 8,300 call. So basically here what happens is, in a butterfly spread, that it is a combination of both a bull spread and a bear spread. It involves three strike prices. In this case, it is the 8,200, 8,250, and the 8,300 call. It's mostly a neutral strategy, and hence there are limited risks. But the profit potential generally does not justify the costs involved. So you need to be careful while getting into butterfly spreads, because you are entering into many positions at the same time. So the cost of taking this position is also high, while at the same time when you are exiting this strategy, so you will have to take into account the overall brokerages and the commissions that you pay while entering into this strategy, and then see whether it makes sense for you or not. It is mostly a neutral strategy, so hence the risks are limited, because you see that you are entering both a bull spread and a bear spread at the same time. So now we look at the condor. So what we see is that the condor's relationship to the butterfly is very much like the relationship between the straddle and the strangle. We saw that the straddle uses one strike price, whereas the strangle uses two. In a similar way, the butterfly uses one central strike, while the condor uses two. We saw in the butterfly spread that you are buying a January 8,200 call, but you are selling 2 January 8,250 calls. That is the central strike price here is the 8,250. So you are selling 2 and again buying buying 1 January 8,300 call. Whereas in the condor, the central strike prices is not 1, it is 2. So what we find is that the butterfly and the condor are nearly the same strategy in all other ways. The choice of which of the two strategies to use is just a matter of where the stock is located in relation to the strike prices. In all the other aspects, the condor and the butterfly are just the same, as the straddle and the strangle are very much the same. So you have these strategies, you have butterfly spreads, you have condors, you have straddles, you have strangles, you have vertical call spread, vertical put spread, synthetics, covered calls, covered calls. So these are some strategies. Then you have something called the ratios. So generally what happens is that this strategy involves buying or selling a greater number of calls or puts on one side of the transaction than the other. So these are basically a combination of strategies and useful only in certain conditions. To look at it from a different perspective, a ratio write means someone who's writing a ratio generally involves selling a greater number of options than the underlying futures position, with the most common being 2. Whereas a buying of a ratio buying will involve buying a greater number of options than the underlying futures position. So the ratio, someone who's writing a ratio writing means selling a ratio spread, has a strategy, has a two-sided risk. If the market falls substantially, the risk on the futures is not limited. If the market rallies substantially, the upside risk is unlimited as well. So the ratio call writer has a neutral to slightly bullish outlook, whereas a ratio put writer has a neutral to bearish outlook. So someone who's writing a ratio call has a neutral to slightly bullish outlook, whereas someone who's writing a ratio put has a neutral to bearish outlook. So just to give an example, suppose you buy one futures contract but simultaneously sell two options contract. So this is another strategy which people use. Next, there is something called the reverse ratio spreads. It involves selling a call or put at one strike price and then buying a greater number of calls at a higher strike price or buying a greater number of puts at a lower strike price. So generally reverse ratio spreads, in this it involves selling a call and then buying a greater number of calls at a higher strike price, or it involves selling a put and then buying a greater number of puts at a lower strike price. This is also commonly called a back spread, that is a reverse ratio spread. One can look for back spreads where one anticipates a relatively substantial move for the best profits. So where there is a significant sort of move which one is expecting, then one can get into a reverse ratio spreads. Now we just look at a few of the examples strategies as per market conditions. So for example, you are bullish on the coming month. So you are bullish that going forward the next month, say April, is going to be bullish. So you enter into calendar spread. So what you do is you are selling the current month call option and buying the next month call option. So in this case, you are selling the current month, say for example 8,400 Nifty call option for 36 premium, and you buy the next month 8,400 call option for 135. So the maximum loss is 135 minus 36, that is 99 points. 99 into 75, you need to multiply it by the lot size. So in this case, it being Nifty, so it is 99 into 75. Whereas the gains are unlimited. So if you are bullish, you can enter into a calendar spread. Then no specific direction. The market could move in either way. We talked about the straddle. So especially during election or result period, this can be a strategy which you can look at. It's a very good strategy. But what I would suggest to all of you on this webinar is that do some past study as well, as to you can get everything on the websites as to which were the dates wherein predefined dates where the results came out for companies or some other major government announcements, and how the market reacted. Had you gone in for an ATM straddle, would you have made money? And if there were 10 such trades which were there, how many of them made money and how much you lost? So these are things, if you can do on your own, it will give you a further level of confidence. Then we have the next is you sell put if the markets expected to remain up. So if the markets are expected to trade above, say for example 8,700, so selling a put option of 8,400 for 90. So in this case, the maximum gain here is 86.5. That's less the brokerage, means whatever the charges are, and then the loss is limited loss is unlimited below the 8,310. So risk is reduced by maintaining a stop loss. So generally, if you're bullish on the market, you can buy a call option or you can sell a put option. Selling an option gives you a faster way of making money, but at the same time, you need to remember that writing of option is a far dangerous activity as compared to buying of options. So now we sum up and look at that. We've talked about different strategies, but what is it that you really should do when you are looking at options? First is that you need to stay away from deep in the money options. The key advantage to buying options are the high leverage and the limited risk. So if an option is deep in the money, it cuts down on your leverage and adds to your risk. And also, as I talked about earlier, that a deep out of money option will have a delta close to 0, whereas a deep in the money option will have a delta close to 1. So it will behave more or less like the underlying. So the premium will also be significantly higher. So it's not a very good idea to buy a deep in the money option. But in this case, for the option seller, the biggest disadvantage in selling deep in the money option is that the time decay theta is less. So it's not a very advantageous position for a seller of deep in the money option. Then the next is you find traders trading in deep out of money options. So earlier I had shown about Nifty. For the 9,550 option, call option, the premium was 4 points. So effectively, that's very negligible. So buying, but is it, does it make sense to buy that option? Not. No, it does not make sense to buy that option. So you should stay away from deep out of money options until and unless you have a very specific reason and some strategy to buy a deep out of money option. So generally the illusion is that deep out of money option gives you a lot of leverage, but in reality it just gives you a lot of hope, encourages overcommitment, and generally offers very little profit opportunity. So ideally you should avoid deep out of money options. So you should avoid deep in the money options, and you should also avoid deep out of money options. So then what are the options which you should actually look at? You should, if you're trading options, trade slightly out of money, uh, at the money, or slightly in the money. So slightly out of money or slightly in the money options, they are better placed while trading options. If you are having strategies to be traded, then you can look at the other strike prices as well. So these options that which are slightly out of money or slightly in the money, these options have a reasonable chance of proving profitable when buying, and are generally the most liquid. For the option seller, he or she gains from the maximum possible time decay in such options. So you have a significant time decay also in such options. So you need to remember that when you are buying or when you are trading in options, if you are on the writing side of options or your strategy is more on the selling, then you time decay works in your favor. But if the time decay is not working in your favor, then you need to exit your positions on a fast basis. Then there is the best part is in options is that you have option strategies for all seasons. That is, if the market is bullish, you have a strategy. If the market is bearish, you have a strategy. If the market is not clear, but there is some major event is likely to happen, you have a strategy like straddles, strangles, bull spreads, bear spreads. So depending upon the market condition, you can have your positions. Next, we look at something called the put call ratio, the PCR. So generally what happens is that the average value for the PCR is not 1 due to the fact that equity option traders and investors almost always buy more calls than puts. So hence average ratio is far less than 1 for options. So you'll find that the put call ratio is generally in most cases less than 1, because a put call ratio, what does it mean, is the total number of puts divided by the total number of calls. So you'll find that we are optimists by nature. So majority of the investors and traders who are in options, they will be on the buying of call side. So when the ratio is close to 1 or greater, it indicates bearish sentiment, because that means that puts are being added. Higher than average number indicates more puts being bought relative to calls. This means that more traders are betting against the underlying, and hence general outlook is bearish. Conversely, when the ratio is near zero point 0.6 or lesser, it implies a bullish sentiment. So again, you can see on this at the NSE website, you have the put call ratio, you have the daily reports section, and there you can see the put call ratio of index, and you can look at the put call ratio of stock options. So it gives you a good opportunity to understand that. Then we have the put call ratio. How do you analyze it? It's a contrarian indicator. So if a put call ratio is increasing during correction in an uptrending market, so it is a bullish indication. It means that put writers are aggressively writing at dips. Whereas if the put call ratio is steadily rising during the day along with the Nifty, this is just an example of the Nifty, it is considered bullish. It could be a stock, so it would apply the same way. Likewise, if put call ratio is decreasing when the Nifty spot is near resistance level, that means it's a bearish indication. And the last is if the put call ratio decreases during downtrending market. This is a very bearish indication. It means call writers are aggressively writing at every rise, or put writers are closing their positions, cutting losses. Next, we look at open interest and its interpretation. Open interest is the number of outstanding outstanding commitments outstanding in futures and options trading on an official exchange at any one point of time. So it is a number of outstanding positions. So you need to understand is that when the price is rising and volume is also rising and open interest is rising, that is a strong, that is the market remains strong. If the price is rising but volume is falling and open interest is falling, that represents a trend reversal. Likewise, if price is falling but volume is increasing and open interest is also increasing, that is a bearish sign. That means the market is likely to remain bearish. And finally, if prices are falling but now volume is also started falling and open interest is also started falling, that is decreasing or declining, that means there is a possibility of a trend reversal. So now we look at that. We've talked about options, we've talked about different strategies, but there are a few precautions while trading options. The one is you should always maintain your strict stop loss. When you're having strategies, there also you should define your maximum risk. Don't generally hold till the expiry until unless your strategy says so. And don't have your stops as per the option low, rather use it as the underlying. That's a better way. And if you're trading options and if your strategies are time specific, time bound, then ideally 1 to 3 days is the period wherein you should be in your positions. Otherwise you should look to get out if you're on the more on the buying side, because the time decay will eat up your option premium. For the writers, the time decay is a delight. Then the next is never average a losing position. If you're in a losing trade, don't average the losing trade. Better get out of that trade and then take a fresh trade. As the option nears the expiry, the value of the option reduces due to time decay. Losses are limited in buying of options in comparison to selling of options. So there is an urge to sell options, but you need to be careful until unless it is part of your strategy or until unless you really understand. Always prefer to take view in options closer to market price, that is in the money option is better than out of money, deep out of money option. And becoming emotionally attached to one's position is generally not the right thing to do, because you need to understand that if you are into trading and if you are having your strategies, you're working on strategies, you need to think like a businessman, you need to act like a businessman. So it is a business risk that you're taking. So somewhere or the other you don't need to get emotionally attached to your position. This unfortunately is a major handicap for most of the traders. And the last point is learning to ride winning positions and cutting losing positions is the hallmark of a successful trader. So if you can learn how to minimize your risk and hold on to your profitable trades, that can be increase your profits, that increases your probability and odds of staying in the game and reaping benefits. As far as Angel is concerned, we have some of our tools. We have the Angel Advanced Charting tool, which in which you can plot option premium charts as well, and we also have the Angel Options Analyzer, which is part of the Speed Pro. So if you all are using it, that's really nice. If you all are not using it, I would recommend that you should definitely look at it. Again, for that, you can write to us at webinars@angelbroking.com with your client code. So we will do the needful. Uh, Thank you very much.